In a quiet corner of Hollywood's Holy Cross Cemetery lies a special departed soul. He was not buried in decent everyday clothes, but tightly wrapped in a black velvet cape, the costume of Count Dracula. Bela Lugosi was a name that once sent screams echoing through cinemas of the 1930s, yet faded into utter loneliness in his final days. Tonight, let us sit by the flickering firelight and walk into his true life through this story worth savoring quietly. People often say actors and their roles achieve mutual perfection, but for Bela, it was more like a spiritual replacement. He endowed the vampire with elegant, fatal and melancholy humanity, while the role stripped him of the chance to live anew as an ordinary man. This is not an inspirational legend, but a slow, elegant yet brutally tragic demise. Let us set aside all prejudice for a moment and reach out to touch the lonely soul hiding in the shadow of the cape, searching for an exit all his life. Come witness the tragic genius who achieved immortality on the silver screen, yet was consumed by poverty and drug addiction in reality. In the spring of 1931, when Universal Pictures' Dracula premiered, Bela Lugosi never knew he had ushered in an era. His thick Hungarian-accented English was no hindrance at all. Instead, it added an air of mysterious ancient nobility from a foreign land. He barely blinked in front of the camera, and his deep eyes seemed to pierce the screen and stab straight into the audience's souls. At that moment, Bela Lugosi became the pope of horror films, with every gesture and line of his hailed as a classic. But he was far too successful, so successful that all studio executives could see when they looked at his face was a vampire lying in a basement coffin. He longed to challenge Shakespearean works and star in profound drama films, yet Hollywood's rules were cold and utilitarian. Trapped in low-budget horror flicks, he was forced to repeat scenes of sucking blood, hypnotizing others and letting out cold laughter. Bela began to suffocate. The powerlessness of being typecast felt as if he had nailed himself into a coffin of his own making. He started turning down scripts, but this never earned him a career transition. Instead, he gradually faded out of the mainstream spotlight. In this glamorous star factory, he found himself becoming an expensive prop, overused and then discarded without a second thought. If we trace back to Bela's early years, we will see he was once a young man full of passion and ideals. Born in Hungary, he was a leading star of the Budapest National Theatre and even took part in strikes and struggles amid turbulent times. He crossed the ocean to America in pursuit of artistic freedom, bringing not only talent but also an overly proud heart. In Hollywood, he disdained socializing and the slick political games on set, always clinging to the ritualism of stage plays. Out of step with the era, he stood alienated in the Vanity Fair and drifted apart from contemporary actors. Meanwhile, the rise of his rival Boris Karloff dealt a heavy blow to Bela. Unlike Karloff, who diversified his acting career after Frankenstein, Bela remained trapped in the shadow of Dracula forever. He watched Karloff gain high salaries and respect, while he could only waste his once brilliant talent in second-tier film studios. Jealousy, grievance, and long-term career setbacks eroded his heart, making him increasingly gloomy and sensitive. He moved frequently, trying to escape the humiliating stares around him, only to find the whole world knew him as nothing but a vampire. In the late 1940s, Bela's life collapsed completely, a double downfall of body and spirit. Chronic back pain forced him to rely on painkillers, and this dependence soon spiraled into uncontrollable morphine addiction. He would wander alone late at night in his tattered costume, whispering on empty streets as if talking to phantom attendants. Hollywood had completely forgotten the once glorious Count. Whenever his name appeared in newspapers, it was always linked to debt or mental breakdown. It was at his lowest point that Ed Wood, known as the worst director in film history, came to find him. Ed was Bela's ultimate admirer, offering the aging icon a final refuge in his absurd low-budget films. On Ed's cheap cardboard sets, Bela still maintained the solemnity of the old era, even trembling in front of the camera due to drug addiction. Their bond was filled with absurd warmth, a fanatical admirer trying to preserve a fading idol through the lens. By then, Bela clearly realized he was no longer Bela Lugosi, only a broken projection of the vampire character. He even began performing his own downfall in public, earning meager income to pay for his expensive medication. In his final years, Bela Lugosi made a shocking decision. He voluntarily checked himself into a rehab center. In that era, a celebrity admitting drug addiction was professional suicide, yet he had nothing left to lose. sitting on a hospital bed facing media microphones. His eyes no longer held the dignity of the Count, only raw and transparent honesty. He said, "The biggest mistake of my life was letting this cape grow into my skin, impossible to peel off." Yet this moment of clarity never brought a career turnaround. After discharge, he was still ignored by the industry and confined to a shabby studio apartment. His only companions were yellowed old stills and his lifelong loyal friend Ed Wood. Time and again late at night, he would pick up his black cape and stare at himself in the mirror, as if bidding farewell to another version of himself. Extreme poverty and loneliness never stripped him of his final noble reserve. He always kept himself neat, even when his shirts were faded from repeated washing. He waited for an ending, a quiet final resting place belonging both to Dracula and Bela Lugosi himself. He knew that when the sun rose, his soul, belonging only to the night, would eventually turn to dust. On August 16, 1956, Bela Lugosi passed away peacefully in his afternoon nap, with an unfinished script still on his desk. His departure was eerily calm, as if he had finally finished a 30-year-long performance. With almost no savings left, the court originally planned a simple funeral, but his family insisted on one last wish. Following Bela's last will, they dressed him in the full Dracula costume and draped the black cape lined with crimson silk over his shoulders. At the funeral, Ed Wood broke down in tears, claiming he watched the Count fly up into the night sky. At that moment, reality and illusion blurred completely. In this way, Bela achieved ultimate reconciliation with his iconic role. He no longer resisted Dracula. He became Dracula, letting the role serve as his eternal epitaph. As the coffin was lowered into the ground, the glorious, eerie Gothic era seemed to be buried along with it. Yet the shadow he left behind stretches endlessly through film history, standing as an unattainable peak for generations to come. He died in poverty, but attained true immortality in legend. The life story of Bela Lugosi has come to an end, a tale of being burned by fame and sheltered by shadows. He once stood atop Hollywood's highest clouds, yet also trampled through its dirtiest mud, leaving an indelible mark in history. To answer the question from the prologue, was the cape truly cursed? In truth, the cape was the last bulwark of his dignity, his only weapon against a mediocre world. His own demise teaches us that when a person portrays ultimate beauty or evil to the extreme, the price to pay is often themselves. Looking back on him quietly late at night, we should feel not just fear, but a reverent sense of sorrow. He no longer had to hide from the sun or suffer from drug addiction. He found eternal peace in his own universe. That ends tonight's story. May this fateful tale lull you into a peaceful sleep. May every lonely soul in dreams find their own cape to shield them from the cold of the world. Turn off the lights, let weariness drift away into the starry night along with Bela's cape. Good night.